What is the worst possible way to be rejected? Not a rejection, but when we were in college, a girl I had been friends with throughout high school said, "Ben, I used to fancy you a few years back, but my standards have gone up since then." She said that in front of all our other friends. Fortunately, I found the whole thing hilarious. Say you almost fancied her too, since your standards have actually dropped, but not quite low enough. Lol, I'm sure he did say this. I in the shower, later. Where all arguments are won in mic drop fashion. Thought I was dating a guy for 2 years. He would call me his girl to his friends, and we would hang out every day. Hang out being the key word here. I thought nothing of it. We would be intimate, make plans, eat together, sleep together, go shopping together, exchange gifts. Valentine's Day he goes to Miami with another girl. I thought, okay, weird, but I'm not going to be jealous. He'd make it up to me. Turns out he didn't make it up to me, was acting weird, and I looked in his phone, and he got rejected through text by the girl he took to Miami when he asked her to date him and think about the future and start a family. And when I asked him why he lied about it, he told me I was never his girlfriend and that I misunderstood our friendship and he was rejecting my advances for something more committed. So yeah, my worst rejection up to date. Edit, to clear up confusion, he said it was a group trip to celebrate someone's birthday. He acted like a boyfriend and introduced me as his girl. Then when I brought this all up, he gaslit me and said I am his girl best friend. And he loved me as a friend. He got drunk the next day. Instead of dropping all my stuff off that I left at his place, complaining that he's losing his best friend. Lol. I'm sitting here just blinking at my phone. What the fuck? I went to a bar with a girl that I had met at work once. We had really hit it off from day one, and so we had decided to go get drinks, but the whole day she was just off. Like, she wasn't rude or anything, she was just acting weird. When we got to the bar, we basically sat in awkward silence until, who would have guessed it, her ex shows up. He comes over to the table, introduces himself to me, and then starts talking to the girl, and she immediately stops acting weird. And then he left. And then she started acting weird again. Eventually, she excuses herself to go to the bathroom. She was gone for a while, so I turn around in my seat and look toward the bathroom, and there she is, sitting in her ex's lap, making out with him. When they're your ride home. I once asked someone out when I was their ride home. To be fair, I was going to do it before we drove home and then realized how terrible of a thing that could have been if he said no. So I asked him when I dropped him off. He said no. High school me wasn't the smartest, but I am grateful every day I realized that asking before I drove him home would have been really awkward. In middle school, my friend wrote a letter to his crush asking her to a dance. Dropped it on her desk and then left because he was nervous. As we walked outside, we watched her through the window reading it, laughing, and then getting a bunch of her friends to come over, and they read it together, laughing their asses off. Sucks, but it's way better knowing she was just a shit kid rather than some vague memory of not having the balls to drop that letter on her desk. Good for him. I was outright ignored. Just not a single thing said. So I awkwardly never talked to them again because they didn't seem to want to talk to me. I knew a girl once. She had a crush on me since we were 8. I was home from college and ran into her. We chatted a bit and then she started crying and telling me how she always liked me, but I always ignored her. We did talk quite a bit throughout our school years, but she never mentioned being interested in me. So I asked her out right there, and she said no and went down the crazy tunnel to crazy town about how I was only asking her out to have sex with her. It was weird. Glad I dodged that bullet. God, talk about mixed signals. Maybe I did ignore her unintentionally. Men are pretty dense and women aren't the best at signaling. When the person acts like he or she just saw something disgusting. Come on, first you just say no. If they insist, then you can do whatever you want, but let us have the chance to walk away with just a no. I've had people feign vomit at the thought of being with me. I didn't even hit on them or ask them out. Someone brought up the idea of sleeping with me and they pretended to puke in their own mouth. Like, WTF, who does that? Fuck them, homie. To me, you're beautiful. Preemptive rejection. I've had it happen a couple times. Both times were with women girls who were part of a circle of friends. I never showed any interest in either, but somehow they both felt the need to say, out of the blue, "I'll never sleep with you." It's all good, things evened out. Should have said same, Glad we're on the same page. I too would never sleep with myself. I had a girl do this to me at a party. I was chatting with my friend outside and she came over to chat with him, I guess. I thought we were just having a conversation, but she was super hostile to me the whole time. She dropped the "I have no interest with sleeping with you" nugget right before my buddy and my wives came out to hang out too. I liked my response and my buddy, and I laugh about it every now and then. Okay, well, this is my wife and my friend's wife, and the four of us are just going to go drink over there now. Okay, bye. I really want to know her reaction right after you said that. That sounds like it's more embarrassing to her than you. Sure. She already had her arms folded and was standing hip-shot. She shifted her weight to the other side and rolled her eyes, then went to talk to other guys. Some background, just for shits and giggles, I'm a high-paid designer animator art director, but I'm definitely a shirt and jeans guy. Everyone else at this party were lawyers, doctors, actuaries, financial guys, from Northeast it's gender neutral, and a handful of political whatevers. We all make over six figures, but I was definitely not dressed the same as the rest of the people there. If you saw a group photo of us, you would probably have assumed I came with the pot dealer. So, she just assumed I wasn't in the same tax bracket as whomever she was looking for. Just respond with "thank God." Being told to wait until recess for an answer to the "do you like me" question, waiting, then being told hell no on the playground with a gaggle of 6th grade girls behind her. I still carry the scar, 30 years later. My son is in 2nd grade. Earlier this week he asked a girl out and she said no. And her friends laughed and said rejected. I felt bad for my little guy, but I told him to keep his head up. The next day she wrote my son a card telling him he was brave and asked if they could still be friends. Card clearly forced by parent who heard the story. Agreed, but well done on the parent for at least trying to get their low, to put it right and realize what hurt they've caused. Their partner tells you. Well, at least you made a new friend. And clearly already have things in common. You like trash? When I lived in Social in the early 2000s there was a bogus phone girls could give people who ask for their dot. An answering machine would then play a message saying sorry, you've been rejected. Lol and hang up on you. Edit, the rejection hotline, that was it, lol. When I was 17, this creepy older guy kept asking for my number and just wouldn't take no for an answer. So I gave him the number for the rejection hotline, and to my horror he immediately called it while I was standing there to see if I had given him the correct number. Then he looked at me and said, you could have just said no. I had literally said no like half a dozen times. There was a UK radio show where they gave out a number girls could give to guys when they were hassled for a number. They recorded and played the messages back on air. Some real crazy people out there. Middle school, I had my friends, she had hers, I asked her, she said no. My friends laugh, her friends laughed. But one of her friends said to my buddies, why you laughing, that's messed up. Thank you, kind friend of hers. Edit, I wish I can put a happy ending to this tale. A lot of you has suggested that maybe the friend is the one for me, that I should have married her. But that friend was my good friend for a long time. She had her guy, I had my girl, and unfortunately during senior year of high school she sadly took her own life. RIP. I was the first in my family to graduate college and was incredibly proud of myself for making it despite my limited resources and having to work my way through school. My father told me he wouldn't come to my graduation. Said it really wasn't that big of a deal. I still remember the phone call and just sitting in the grass in the common area sobbing while people walked past. Rejection by a parent is something I don't wish on anyone. I feel you. I'm one of 4, but I'm the firstborn with a different mom. My dad rejects me time and time again. Takes my siblings on family vacations without inviting me, doesn't put me on the Christmas card, and makes a huge deal whenever my siblings do literally anything. But I graduated valedictorian with my Master's of Science degree, and he acted like it was nothing. Left early to go to my sister's field hockey practice. Not game, practice. Still hurts bad. Edit, thank you for all of the replies. I feel so loved tonight. So sorry you've experienced that. It sounds like you're doing incredible things with your life regardless, which I'm so happy to hear. People who have to go through life with their parents against them are some of the strongest. Thank you, I really appreciate that. Fuck man, that is probably the worst one I've read. The parent rejecting you is horrible. Being led on or strung along when the other person is clearly over it. I am currently going through it. We were seeing each other for about 3 months, and then someone new entered her life. They began hanging out a ton, she was answering me less and less. I asked her about it and straight up said it's fine if it's over, but I don't want to just throw us away over me being paranoid. So just be straight with me. Up until then she had been honest, or I think she was. So I believed her when she said she was just busy with the end of the school year and he was just a friend. Flash forward 2 weeks, we have spent max 2 hours in that same time. Hurts so much worse this way. Like I wasn't even important enough to dump. I was just gutted and left to bleed out on the side. This is what people mean when they say they need closure. Just tell people what you need if it's over. I just wish she had said, look, I want to see where things go with this guy. I am sorry, but that means we are through. Probably wants to keep you on the hook just in case it doesn't work out with the new person. Super shitty. That's exactly what it is. She's keeping her backup options open. It's disturbingly common. I don't really talk to anyone in my family about my feelings. One time I was feeling courageous enough to tell my brother, who I am closest to, that I was feeling sad, and I asked if we could talk about it. He said, no. Without even looking at me. I don't talk to anyone in my family about my feelings anymore. I went on a first date with a girl. We had a nice dinner and really seemed to be hitting it off. We decided to visit a jazz club after dinner. Some guy started flirting with her when she was on her way to the ladies' room. It continued when she was on her way back. Dude then posted up nearby and just kept looking at her and winking at her while she was sitting at the table with me. She excused herself and went over and started talking to the guy. I was hopeful that it was a "what the fuck is your problem, dude" conversation. But no. Soon they were laughing and joking and exchanging numbers. When I decided to call it a night, she thanked me for dinner and said she was going to hang out a bit longer. Holy shit, ouch. That sucks so badly. I'd be completely emotionally disturbed fucked for like the next week and a half after if that happened to me. Make it a year. I was 12. All my classmates pushed me to confess to my crush, who was standing on the stairs. Everyone was staring at me as I, in my prepubescent anxiety, managed to blurt out "I love you" while holding my arms up. She put on the deepest expression of disgust I've ever seen, and I run away. Fun times. Sounds like thing you would randomly remember at 3 a.m. Lol, so accurate. I'm ready for some sweet sleep. Op's brain, hey, do you remember that time when you were 12 and confessed to your crush? Classic schmozby. Getting stood up. Sitting at a bar alone, all dressed up, waiting for him to arrive. He never showed. Maybe he saw me and was disappointed and left. Maybe he just ghosted for no reason. Who knows, but it was humiliating. I want to feel like if I got tarted up to go on a date and got stood up, that I'd stick around and get silly drunk and enjoy my night. The reality is I'd stick around, get messy drunk and wallow in my own self-pity, probably in the nearest gutter. Edit. I logged into 65 notifications and my first thought was, oh shit, what did I say this time? Haha. Someone could have pulled the "he's not coming." Has screenshotted this conversation. My first boyfriend in high school told me I wasn't religious enough to date him and broke up with me. He did this after church, before we left the building. Pulled me aside in a conference room like we were having an evaluation meeting. A few months later, he was sent home from a school trip for having sex in the bathroom. My first thought, I guess she was religious enough for him. Edit. Thank you, good people of Reddit, for soothing my inner 14-yo heartbreak. Holy Ghost Cola is a hypocrite's crutch. Also a good song title. Amen. Similar thing happened to me, where my GF broke up with me because I wasn't spiritual enough and she always envisioned her husband to a virgin. Then proceeds to say she knew she could explore more sensual things with me because of my past and then start dating a new dude about 2 days later. Dodged a huge bullet and my wife now is absolutely amazing. Removed. Damn. So did you look like him? Replacement bro, what are you doing? Fully aware I am going to hell. Stringing you along, so you upend your life, move across country, buy and start renovating a house, and only then learn that she wasn't really serious. I learned a term for this the other day. Future faking. A few years ago I was dating a soldier and he did something similar. We were going to get married and he was going to move me out of state to where he was stationed. He bought me a plane ticket so he could show me around, and when he got deployed he chose to see me instead of his family beforehand, even though I really pushed him to go see his mom. He was constantly telling me how much he loved me and how excited he was to finally be married and build a life together. Silly me, I thought he was serious. His deployment extended over our initial wedding date, so I was just kinda working some crappy serving job, saving money, and waiting for him to get back. I sent him multiple care packages full of stuff to make things easier on him and talked to him whenever he could. He had internet access almost every day. I even turned down a much better job with the city because they wanted someone permanent and I thought I was moving after a few months. Midway through his deployment he ghosted me for a week and at the end sent me a message saying that he was never sure serious and dumped me. He said we could talk about it later but neither of us ended up reaching out to each other again afterwards. I do look at his social from time to time out of curiosity and he got married to another person less than a year after he got back lol. Dude, my husband future faked me. We bought a house, got married 2 months into marriage, got into a fight about him hanging out with an ex-fuck buddy and lying about it. He then proceeds to tell me that he never wanted to get married, wasn't serious about me, could we go back to being engaged? He didn't realize what a commitment marriage was, he didn't want to lose his freedom to go where he wanted to and didn't want to answer to anyone for anything. All of this came out of his mouth. So yeah. We are still unraveling the aftermath of that. Turns out you can't just back out of a marriage like it's a breakup, change your mind on a dime. What a troll. Could we go back to being engaged? That's incredible. I like this term. I once dated a guy and we started looking at houses, working out budgets and so on. He put an offer in on a house we loved, but it wasn't accepted and we eventually split up. Years later, I don't remember the details, but he said we were just looking at houses for fun, it was never serious. After he put in an offer on a house. I can't recall if I heard that secondhand or if we had seen each other socially and it came up, but either way, removed joke that nobody got. I have contradicting feelings about this comment section. On one hand I would like to read other people's stories, and on the other hand I am enraged from all the absolute BS people had to go through as teens. Well, I never thought I'd share this, but I liked a girl in middle school. Confessed to her before going to a new school in a different state due to moving. The day I told her she said, "You, that's gross," then started laughing. A few months pass and I'm enjoying my new school and went to visit my grandparents and I get a call from the same girl who said I was gross. She called and said she was sorry and wanted to give it a shot. I said sure, and lo and behold she starts laughing and said she can't believe that worked and started teasing me for believing that would happen or that she'd want that. TLDR, fell for a dare call from my ex-crush. Fuck you, Ivy. Edit, this got more attention than I expected. Sorry to anyone named Ivy, maybe except the one who was mean to me. And thank you very much for the hugs. That's fucked up, she's got some issues. In 6th grade, a very overweight and shy gal wrote my older popular brother, an 8th grader, a love note. We congregated in the gym before first bell, with grades separated. 6th graders were opposite the side of 8th graders. She was sitting directly opposite of him on the first row, he was on his first row. I watched as he took the note out, then ripped it apart and dropped it on the ground, all while staring directly at her. This gal continued to mildly stalk my family and in high school told everyone her and I were dating. I never spoke to her once in my life. That's kinda weird. A friend of mine was served separation papers through text. They've been married for 6 years. Broke up through text is horrible, divorce through text is disgusting. I mean, it seems cowardly to say the least, but it really makes me wonder what was going on behind closed doors. Never know what goes on in a relationship you're not in. True, especially if it's an abusive relationship. Someone's hero is someone else's worst nightmare. I was in middle school and these group of girls convinced me to ask out a guy I like because they said he liked me back. They helped me get all dressed up and look nice. Then at lunchtime, they brought me to him, and as they stood around and watched me, before I could even say anything the guy completely rejected me in front of everyone. And everyone started laughing at me. One of the girls said out loud, "You, why would he ever like you? No one does." Middle school was not a pleasant time for me. Edit, holy moly, I didn't think this would blow up. Thank you all for your comments and awards. Thankfully this happened about 15 years ago, and I bloomed right after high school. If you're experiencing awful bullying in school, it really does get better after graduation. It's like a whole new fresh start. Never give up and don't believe their lies. Sounds like they went to him and told him to reject before they went and brought you there. As I have witnessed with my sister, schoolgirl groups are vicious cliques. I have a revenge story for these cliques actually. In high school, there was a dance coming up, and I decided after years of not doing this kinda stuff, I would go. I wasn't gonna bring any girl as I just wanted to chill with my friends. Well, at lunch I was walking over to get some utensils, and it kinda looked like I was walking to this table with a group of girls. One of them instantly tells me, "Sorry, I'm not that into nerds," and my brain just kinda goes fuck it and says something along the lines of, "You, why would I ask you?" And that entire table goes fucking batshit crazy on her and laughing, and the look on her face was absolutely beautiful, or very specifically not nice. I remember a guy calling me once in early high school to let me know his cool, I guess, friend wasn't into me. I usually would have hung up, but it really pissed me off and I said, I'm not into him at all, I was nice to him, and sorry he misinterpreted. 2 decades later and probably don't have the emotions intelligence to pull it off a second time. You. Do pastries really talk back? Asked a girl for her phone number one night at the bar, she smiled and happily gave it to me. Waited a few days and called it, turns out it was for a funeral home. I died a little inside that day. Well, then it was kind of convenient then. Bro, he's dead already. Dropped a dumbbell 20 pounds, on my face while I was laying on the couch, breaking one of my front teeth and causing permanent jaw damage. Not to outdo himself, the same brother tried to stab me in the ribs with a homemade shiv, causing significant injury a few years later. And he wonders why even decades later I want nothing to do with him. Edits for additional context. The first incident occurred when he was 7, the second when he was 14. They are just the highlights of a long series of dysfunctional psychopathic behavior. He did spend time in juvenile hall over the second incident. I've had no contact with him as an adult, so I don't know his fate during the interval. We are several years apart, that's as much context as I'm willing to share. Thanks for the awards and the great questions. And he wonders why even decades later I want nothing to do with him. Can I ask how this came up? Was it, hey, why don't we have relationship? Either way, he sounds crazy. Tried to reach out after their home burned down in the California wildfires last season. Karma is a real bitch click. Has he pulled the whole, don't be so melodramatic line?